Hey guys, this is Neil, your Pinoy Plantito. Today we'll be talking about recently one of my favorite plants, and I'm talking about begonias. Begonias are some of the most beautiful, vibrant, colorful, and numerous plants in the world. And in fact, the number of varieties of begonias existing in this world is estimated to be, are you ready for this? 17,000 to 20,000. So it's really wow. And a lot of these begonias are still unnamed, and many varieties of begonias are still not propagated for commercial purposes or as houseplants. There are varieties of begonias that are being cultivated for their beautiful flowers, such as the following. But mostly, begonias are being cultivated for their beautiful foliage. Alright, so before diving deeper into the plant care tips and techniques for begonias, let's first meet some of the begonias in my collection. Alright guys, now let's go to begonia plant care, where we'll be talking about lighting, soil, watering. I will be sharing with you today are like the general plant care tips for most of the begonias, okay? But there are certain varieties of begonias that will not fall under this category of plant care because they require like a special treatment, either because they are hybrids or because they have a very different requirement based on their origins. All right, so but I would say that most of the houseplant begonias, or those that are domesticated or are propagated for commercial purposes, would fall under this category of plant care. All right. Generally, guys, the soil type or soil mix that is best for begonias is a well-draining, moist soil that is rich in organic matter, and use well-draining pot, because begonias in some ways they're like ferns. They do not want their soil to dry up. They want their soil to be always moist, but they do not also want to be sitting in water because they are very prone to root rot. That's why your soil should be loose enough in order to provide good aeration and faster drainage. And the materials that you'll be using are those that should not hold too much water. Okay, they should hold moisture, and the soil should not be really easy on releasing moisture, but then the soil must not be too soggy that it retains too much water, because as I've said, begonias are prone to root rot. So in my case, I use a combination of loose loam, sandy loam soil with acacia leaves and cocoa coir, carbonized rice hull, and on summertime I also put cocoa fiber on top of the soil of the begonias pot, so that it will act as a mulching agent and will retain the moisture in the soil when it's too dry or too hot. Probably the reason why a lot of people are struggling with begonia is because of its soil requirement, guys. Because begonias like moist soil, but at the same time, they like well-draining soil, which is really, like contradictory to each other, right? You can consider it as a high-maintenance plant because you have to check that the soil has enough moisture, but you cannot also be lazy and just, okay, I'm gonna water you so that you will have a lot of moisture the whole time. So it's not like that, because you have to check the soil of your plant for moisture content, but the water shouldn't be too much for the begonias because they might suffer from root rot. All right, so that's basically what makes begonias a little bit high maintenance for some people. Okay, but if you can provide it with the best type of soil mix which retains water and at the same time is a well-draining soil, then I think you have a greater chance of being successful with begonias. So that's basically the soil requirement for begonias. Now let's go to lighting requirements. Now, because begonias are some of the most numerous varieties of plants in the world, the lighting requirements for begonias vary from low lighting to up to direct sunlight, actually. Like for example, this begonia here, the dark one, can tolerate direct sunlight, but there are also begonias that can tolerate really low light and are considered to be really good house plants because you can put them even in the dark areas of the house. But generally, the requirement for begonias is between medium to bright and direct lighting. A word of caution is that if you put your begonias in like in dim places or dim areas, because I had a problem with this, guys, because the orbit of the earth changed and the lighting also changed, and the areas that were previously exposed to bright and direct sunlight became a little darker. And the thing was, I still gave my begonias, because I'm used to doing it, like the same watering and all the plant care that they used to get. And what happened was they experienced root rot. And the reason for that is because they were not exposed to bright and direct light as they used to be. So what happened was their soil became very wet all the time, because the soil doesn't dry up easily because of the absence of light. It's very important that you check the lighting requirement of your plant and adjust the care that you're giving your begonias based on that. Okay, now let's go to humidity. Like lighting requirement for begonias also have a wide range of tolerance when it comes to humidity. They can tolerate very low humidity and also high humidity. But there are certain varieties of begonias, specifically the Rex begonias, that requires at least 50% humidity. And higher will be also okay, but at least 50% of humidity, the Rex begonias will thrive, because a lot of these Rex begonias are hybrids, and their origin is they have tropical and semi-tropical origins, specifically back in India, so they require a higher humidity for most of the Rex begonias. Alright, now let's talk about watering requirements for begonias, guys. For me, soil mix and watering are very crucial when it comes to begonia plant care, because as I have already mentioned, begonias are very prone to root rot. So if you have the wrong soil mix and then you are very fond of watering your plants, which a lot of Filipinos are, by the way, then you can be one of those friends that I have always complaining about their begonias. So do not water your begonias until you have checked the moisture content of the soil, that it's already nearing very dry. Okay, so as long as you can sense that there is still moisture in the soil, it's okay. And in time, with the soil mix that you have, you can already make a decent calculation or estimate on the interval of watering. Okay, but initially, of course, because you're still not familiar with drainage and moisture holding capacity of the soil mix that you have with your begonias, you will have to check every now and then for moisture content. But later, when you become familiar with your soil mix, you can already estimate how frequent watering should be, and you can create your own watering schedule for your begonias. Okay, now let's go to propagation, guys. It's easy to propagate begonias, guys. You just check what type of begonia it is. If the begonia is like this, or like with a lot of stems like this, so you can propagate it by stem cutting. And you can either just cut it and then put it in soil, which I usually do, or you can also do water propagation for this. Yes. And then if your begonia somehow looks like this, that doesn't really have stems but just big leaves, this one is propagated through rhizome cutting. Okay, so they will have like rhizomes down here, and you just have to split it, okay, and put it in another pot, and that's how you propagate it. Okay, by just splitting the rhizome down here and putting it in another pot, then later it will have more roots. And there are also begonias like this, like the iron cross, that doesn't also produce a lot of stems but just big leaves. And the way to propagate this, guys, is through leaf cutting. What I do is I put it in a topsoil with the leaf facing up and the stem. I plant the stem on the soil. Okay, or you can also do that in moss. Okay, and by 2 weeks or 3 weeks you can have already babies. So just make sure, guys, because my sister, she did a leaf propagation of the begonia iron cross, put the leaf cuttings on top of the moss and on a resealable plastic, but she actually hid it in a very dark place. The leaf cutting just eventually dissolved, and that's what happened. So make sure that when you do your propagation, whether it's through water propagation or through leaf cutting, you have enough lighting for your propagations. Okay, that's about it for our quick video today, all about begonias. I hope that you enjoyed this video and that you learned a lot today, and that you can use that knowledge that you have gained to raise lush and healthy begonias of your own. So all the best to your gardening. This has been Neil, your Pinoy Plantito, and I hope to see you again next time.